I really do believe that us as personal trainers have really been let down by the industry. Because would we all agree, your client comes to you expecting you to know what they should be eating? Would we agree? When a client comes and they come for fat loss, they expect like, hey, my PT knows exactly what to eat. Problem. Where did you get that information from? I spent £40,000 on a master's degree to go and do it. But you think about it, where as personal trainers can you get the nutritional information that you need to serve your clients? Would we all agree when it comes to fat loss, what is the one thing that actually determines whether they get a result or not? Food. Yeah? You can have people who lose weight without exercise. Would we agree? It's not the training. It's not the training that drives fat loss. But where can you get this information from? The only place really is the internet. And that is such a minefield. You have people down this end of the spectrum. So you have James Smith who says that life's problems is basically solved by a calorie deficit. But then you have the other side, which is Paul Saladino saying that look at a carb and your client's going to die. Not only like where am I going to get this information from, but then also it's conflicting as hell. So of course you then get that paralysis because I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. And also the one thing with the nutrition industry which is disgusting, I go and put up a simple reel on Instagram saying, here's 3 things that you can do to improve your ability to lose weight, and here's 3 things that you can eat. Then some prick goes and takes a screenshot of it or a reel clip and then goes, look at what a dickhead this bloke is, he doesn't know any of his stuff. Anyone get a little bit scared about putting out their stuff on social media? Why? This criticism. But the thing is that, like, where can you get this information from? You can't get it from the internet because you don't know what to trust. So I really want to make sure that I can kind of serve as the person that can cut through the noise on this is the only stuff you need to learn and just go deep on mastering this. If there is one thing I can say to you all over the next 10, 15, 20 years, just go deep into mastering this one nutrition framework that I'm going to share with you today. Please? Excellent. Cool. So why was that causing me an issue? I have got some slides, but I was saying to Francie that I'm probably going to bin them off at some point because like I'm ADHD as fuck, and I'm like, right, I need to like just write. We got a pen here because don't think the biro is going to cut it. Right, can anyone see that? Cool. So yeah, so why was nutrition a problem for me? Well, the thing is, if I look at my clients, I had clients in 2 camps, okay? So if I kind of draw my clients as a graph. So if I look at my clients, I kind of had clients in 2 camps. I'd have 50% of my clients here who I'd just give a calorie deficit. I'd give them a calorie target, protein goal. And do you know what happened? They'd follow it, and they'd get results. It's like, brilliant, excellent. I'd give them a calorie goal, I'd give them a protein target, and they would lose weight perfectly fine. But these weren't the guys that were causing me the issues. The guys that were causing me the issues were in the other 50%. Now, I did have 10% who were just like a waste of time. Anyone got a client who you're like, yeah, I'm doing everything that you're telling me to do, but I'm like, mate, I saw you in the bar on Friday. Anyone got one of those? Yeah? So those are the people you've got to be careful of because they can be the real energy vampires. They can suck the life out of you. So you have to be careful at seeing those. But there is another set of people who are in the 40%. These were the guys that were stopping me from being able to do what needed to be done. Because they'd come to me and they'd be like, I've tried everything. I've been to Slimming World, I've been to Weight Watchers, I've had 3 PTs, I even saw a nutritionist. And personally, I feel that there's something wrong with me. And I've come along and I'm like, hey, I have the solution. I can help you. So I start working with them. I give them calorie goal, protein target. And things start to kind of happen, but then there comes a point where the progress slows. The progress slows. I check in with them on a Monday, and I'm like, hey, how's everything going? And they're like, it's just not quite happening for me. So then I'm like, okay, right, not a problem. Go to the next week, still haven't lost any weight. And that continues. And this started to cause me a problem because these guys, I genuinely believed were following what I was telling them to do. On paper, on MyFitnessPal, I'd look at it and I'm like, you're in a deficit. You should be losing weight. Because the only thing I had been taught that when it came to fat loss, the only thing you have to focus on is a calorie deficit. Anyone relate to this here? Okay. I would go, I don't understand why you're not losing weight. Now, all I was taught was that weight loss is just about a calorie deficit. And the thing is that if I look at this on social media a lot, And I see a lot of coaches saying, like, if you're not losing weight, it's because you're not in a calorie deficit. That's the same as me saying if your business isn't growing, that's because you have more money going out than coming in. Really helpful. Thank you very much, Callum. I really know what to do with that information. But all I'd been taught was that weight loss was just about getting my clients in a calorie deficit. So I had this client, let's say they're burning 2,500 kcals per day, okay? So what I do is I go and give them a 1,500 kcal way of eating, okay? So that gives me a deficit of 1,000 calories. Everyone agree? Cool. Now, this person had been in a deficit for a while, but the only thing I was taught was basically when it came to weight loss, the goal was about making this deficit as big as possible in a way that my client could sustain and without killing them. Would we agree? Just make that deficit as big as possible in a way that isn't going to screw them over. Problem I had was that Jim hadn't lost weight for about 4 weeks now. And there's only so many times you can say, don't trust the scales, Jim, they're going to fluctuate, go up and down. Maybe it's just like water weight. Did you have a bigger meal last night? Have you had any salt? Really kind of scratching at the floors here, going like, did you go to a toilet a little bit bigger this week than last week? Like, anyone been there? Kind of like running out of excuses here. Because when my client isn't losing weight, based on get them in a calorie deficit, I only have 2 options. Which is 1, increase their overall expenditure. Now, Jim's already training 2 to 3 times a week. He's already doing 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. He's also working an incredibly busy office job. He's got 7 kids, and he came to me and signed up with me off the back of me saying, I'm going to put something together for you that is going to work with your lifestyle. So, I can't tell him, let's go and move more, Jim. Like, he's going to think of me as a one-trick pony. Like, is Callum's only solution to weight loss just move more? Like, no shit, Sherlock, just go on the internet. So, I can't up his expenditure. Can I? No. So, what's my other option? Drop his calories. Now, the thing is, I've kind of lied to you here by saying 1,500 calories because I'd already dropped his calories to a level that I hope nobody else finds out about. Okay, it was definitely less than 50. We've all done it. And then we've all slagged the coaches who put their clients on 1,200 calories as well. But I also didn't want to be that coach who was known as, oh, he only gets results because he starves his clients. But I didn't want to be known as that person. And Jim's already moaning at me saying he's so hungry that if I drop his calories any lower, he's going to eat me. But that wasn't the real problem that caused. I was out of options. Jim's paid me for a result he's not getting. Where does your mind go to? He's going to leave me. Why would you continue to pay me for a result you're not getting? Why would you continue paying me £250 a month for nothing? So not only for me, and this is why I'm so hot on the retention side of things, not only for me was that a problem, that client leaves me, now I've got to get back on the content treadmill. The hardest thing to do is to sign a new person up. Would we all agree? It's not just how hard it is, it's the energy it takes out of you. I've now got to go on that treadmill, hope that someone's come in, go through the hopeless, almost like journey, and then muster up the cool to go and sign this one person up just to fill the holes of the client that's just left me. No wonder I felt like I was never making progress in my business because I wasn't. I was trying to fill up the bathtub without putting the plug in. So I never felt like I was making progress. So that feeling of, I'm working so hard. I felt like a race car that was on full throttle, but the brakes were on. Like I was putting all of this time, energy, and effort in and just getting nowhere. And then I couldn't help but start comparing myself to everyone else who was making all of this money. I'm like, I suck. But the bigger caused me was this person paid me for a result. I'm supposed to be the expert in this situation. They're not getting that result. I don't know why. I couldn't help but take that as a personal reflection of how good I was as a coach. So when it came to me then having to go and sign someone up, how could I be sold on what I was selling? So I'd go on to a sales call with someone, and I'm there promising the world to them, yeah, you're going to get an amazing result. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's actually kind of 50-50 whether you're going to get a result or not. Anyone relate? The one thing I learned about sales was sales is simply just the transference of certainty that I can get you the result from my head into yours. I sucked at sales, but also I wanted to avoid sales conversations because I didn't believe in what I was selling. I knew what I needed to do to go and grow my business. I knew I needed to post more content, but I wouldn't do it because I was absolutely petrified of if I put myself out there, take these opportunities, the world is then going to find me out for the fraud that I thought that I was. Because I can't deliver because I wasn't delivering. Does this make sense? So I wouldn't put the content out there because I didn't believe in myself. If I had the opportunities, I wasn't good enough to go and do it. Do you know why? Because I wasn't good enough to do it. Because based on this, I wasn't good enough for the opportunity. So I needed to level myself up. Anyone heard of the phrase imposter syndrome before? That's what I was hit with. Huge imposter syndrome. The people who got the results, which was kind of out of genetic chance in terms of I just give them a calorie goal and a protein target, they would refer me and then I would do absolutely everything to duck making that phone call or signing that person up, purely out of my own lack of self-confidence because I didn't believe in what I was selling. Now, like I mentioned, if you have a rock in your shoe causing you pain, you can do one of two things. One, I can take paracetamol to numb the pain, or two, take the rock out. Now, I was procrastinating like hell, but I learned this through a book called Who Not How by a guy called Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and he said there's wisdom in procrastination. So I was procrastinating. I knew what I needed to do, but I wouldn't go and do it, and I was procrastinating like hell on putting myself out there, and I could do one of two things. One, I could kick myself and be like, oh, I'm a bag of shit, I'm not very good, I'm not an action taker, I'm never going to go and do it. Or I can ask myself the question, why am I procrastinating? Why am I not putting myself out there? And the reason I wasn't putting myself out there was because half of my clients weren't getting a result. And I learned, would anyone like to know the cure to imposter syndrome? Anyone like to know? You don't seem very excited about it. Yeah or no? Okay, cool. So I learned it from a guy called Bruce Wayne. Anyone heard of Bruce Wayne before? Yeah? Sorry? What is he also known as? Batman. Now, if you know me personally, if you work with me, I am the ultimate comic book, fiend. Okay? Now, I discovered the secret to overcoming imposter syndrome in a scene in Batman Begins. So Bruce Wayne, Batman, is sat in a restaurant, and he's opposite the bad guy called Falcone. Falcone whips out a gun and goes, Mr. Wayne, you only fear what you don't understand. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Because then I go, right, what is the one thing that is stopping me from putting out there? What is the one thing that is stopping me from growing my business, doing what I need to do? Fear. But if I only fear what I don't understand, that then means the antidote to fear is understanding and knowledge. Does that make sense? So if I'm scared of something, I can do one of two things. I can succumb to it and go, I'm a bag of shit, or I can go, right, okay, how can I overcome this hurdle? And I do that through the acquisition of the knowledge as to why I suck at the moment. Does that make sense? So remember, there is always a solution to the problem you're currently experiencing. So for me, how am I for time, by the way? Have I really kind of rattled on here? How much longer have I got? Any ideas? Pardon? 20 minutes left. Oh, brilliant. Or 20 minutes gone. Oh. Right, ADHD superpower. We're going fast. Right, okay, so I went down this rabbit hole of going right, why are my clients not making progress? Now, the only tool I had been given was a calorie deficit. What had I been given? The wrong strategy. I didn't have the right strategy to overcome it. So I go, right, how can I get a better strategy? This strategy has taken me to this level. I've seen business, and also, do you know what? I've seen life very much similar to a video game. Anyone played Mario before? So the way I kind of see life and business is like Mario, yeah? You don't go to the first level and fight Bowser, which I found out is a turtle. I didn't realize Bowser was a turtle. But first level, I don't go and fight Bowser. Why do I not fight Bowser? Because I'm not capable of fighting Bowser yet. I've got to fight these weird little waddling turtles that are like Martin Rooney's penguins, and I got to fight them first. I got to learn how to do that. But if I only operate with the strategy of fighting little kind of turtle penguins, then I'm only ever going to be a good enough person who is capable of fighting little turtle penguins. I've got to become the person who is capable of defeating Bowser. So how do I do that? Classic Tony Robbins. If you want to go do something, find someone who's done what you want to do, learn what they did, do it. Important part there. Do it. Does this make sense? So I go, right, okay, I need to figure out why my clients aren't making progress, because otherwise I'm going to stay where I am for the rest of my business career, and I'm not interested in that. So I went back into the nutritional archives, and the thing that I did get out of my master's degree in performance nutrition was it wasn't a normal master's degree. Most master's degrees, you just go on a course, learn a load of shit, and then it's useless stuff. Whereas what I was taught was, I did something called a master's of research, where I was actually taught on how to research and how to find out the answer. So if I've got two papers, one says that orange juice cures cancer, one says that orange juice gives you cancer, what I was taught to do is to figure out which one is best to actually go down the hole of. So I was like, right, I'm going to figure out where this whole thing comes from. So I looked at where does this calorie deficit model come from? And I went back to the 1950s where there was a study. It was called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. And basically what they did was that they got guys and they stuck them on 1,600 calories a day. They stuck them on 1,600 calories a day, which isn't really that low, that low. Yeah, I've definitely had clients on lower than that. Now, they did that for 6 months. Now, would we also agree that 1 pound of body fat is the equivalent of 3,500 calories? Everyone agree? Yeah, you all heard that. Cool. So what these guys did was they estimated how much weight their client should lose off the back of this equation. So if they're on 1,600 calories over 6 months, so for example, if my client was in a deficit of 500 calories a day for 7 days, that means that over a week they're in a deficit of 3,500 calories. That's 1 pound a week. Everyone get that? So, using that equation, they estimated how much weight these guys should lose. And they should have lost 32 kilos over those 6 months. And this is what's really interesting. Question to you all here. Are you interested in getting good results with your clients or excellent results for your clients? Yeah, finally, yeah. Okay. There are two really interesting findings here, which is what will allow you to get from average results to excellent results. More importantly, results your client can't get from anyone else. Found two findings. First of all, they should have lost 32 kilos. They only actually lost 16.8 kilos. They only actually lost half of the weight that they should have lost during that time. And secondly, 45% of the weight that was lost actually came from lean body mass. So if we actually look at the quality of weight that was lost just by sticking them on a standard calorie deficit, yeah, they lost 16.8 kilos, but half of it came from their bicep. That's not very good, is it? Does this make sense? Yeah. Now, yes, I'm not one of these people who says that weight loss isn't about calorie deficit. Yeah? Like, I am incredibly fascinated by ketogenic diets. Now, a ketogenic diet puts someone in the optimal state to burn fat more than any other diet. Anyone tells you any other way, like that, they just don't know what they're talking about. But I could stick someone on a ketogenic diet, but if they're not in a calorie deficit, yes, they will be burning fat, but they'll be burning the fat that they're eating as opposed to the fat they've got stored. So yes, in order to optimize your ability to burn fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit, but it does not mean we get our clients eating low-calorie foods. Does that make sense? The way you create the deficit determines the quality of weight that is lost. Classic, yeah, just protein target and eat your squares, bars, and whatever. That ain't good enough. Yes, they're in a deficit, but 45% of the weight's going to come from lean body mass. Now, I can also hear people on social media saying, well, if they're eating the protein, they're not going to lose lean body mass. Yeah, that is important. But there's also contributing factors with that. Is this making sense so far, guys? Yeah? Cool. So yes, we want to get our clients, that is dangerous. One sheet of paper. Whoa. Right. Yes, we've got to get our clients in a calorie deficit to optimize their ability to lose weight, but we do not do it getting them eating low-calorie foods. Okay? Because if we want to provide optimal results, there's 3 key things we need to nail. Number 1, I need to ensure my client is burning fat. Just because you are in a deficit does not mean 100% of that energy is going to come from fat. If my client is in a deficit of 1,000 calories, that just means my body has to find an extra 1,000 calories to carry out the demands of the day. So I come back to this here, where if my client is burning 2,500 calories, yeah, they're eating 1,500 calories, they're in a deficit of 1,000. What that means is based on the demands of the day, my body will require 2,500 calories worth of energy. I've only given it 1,500 calories worth of energy, which means that's not enough to carry out the demands of the day. Body's got to find it from somewhere else. It gets this from the outside world, but I've got to find this from the inside. Where does the body find this 1,000 calories from? Someone shout it out. Fat? Potentially. Just because someone is in a deficit does not mean 100% of this energy is going to come from fat. It comes from your stores. Stored energy. Does this make sense? So, there's a big argument in the nutrition community at the moment. Is it about calories or is it about hormones? It's about the two together. Because key reason these guys lost weight, but the majority of it came from, but 45% of it came from lean body mass, was because they were doing it while excessively stimulating the hormone insulin. Anyone heard of insulin before? If you have type 2 diabetic clients, then you'll understand that they use that. Now, insulin's got loads of jobs, but specifically, one of the main jobs of insulin is that when you stimulate insulin, you actually decrease your ability to burn fat. Okay? So you can see insulin as kind of like the door to your fat reserves. You stimulate it, you shut the door. You bring insulin down, you open the door. Is this making sense? Now, the thing that never made sense to me was that I was told, basically, when it came to getting my clients to lose weight, okay, I just needed to get them eating a calorie deficit. And the way that I did that was by dropping their fat content, eating low-fat stuff. Everyone agree? Because, basically, for every gram of carb, how many calories do I get for a gram of carb? 4. How many calories do I get for a gram of protein? What about fat? Cool. So, if my goal is basically to keep this make this number as big as possible, yeah, I want to do that by making this number as low as possible, but by giving them as much food as possible to keep them happy. Everyone agree? So, you can see why I would want to do it by eating low-fat foods, because I could eat 100 grams of protein and 100 grams of carbs and still not be provided with the same number of calories as if I ate 100 grams of fat. Would everyone agree? I get 800 calories then. So you can see, fat is expensive. No wonder it's like, hey, just cut the fat off the bacon, eat low-fat. Anyone had a low-fat cheese before? It's like eating a rubber at school. Like, ugh. And then they use that fry light, which is like fucking saliva in a pan. I'm like, please do not use that. Now, the point I'm coming at here is you can see the appeal as to why I would go low-fat. Everyone make sense? Yeah? But the thing that never made sense to me was that carbohydrates stimulate the hormone insulin. So if insulin shuts the door to my fat reserves, and I want to keep insulin down, and I want to burn fat, why would I get my clients eating the food that stimulates the hormone that stops them from burning fat? Is that pretty dumb? Does that make sense? So if we kind of look at insulin and what's happening here, I go to this. The problem was, these guys were in a calorie deficit, but they were doing it while stimulating the hormone, which was impairing their ability to burn fat. Now, what's important, which comes to why I was having some clients on a calorie deficit, eating low-fat, high-carb, and getting results, and others on the same calorie deficit, same macro split, not getting results, is because this is where people go wrong with insulin. The extent to which you stimulate insulin determines the extent to which the door to your fat reserves is shut. So, we basically have a spectrum of our ability to lose weight. Me and Lenny could eat the same sandwich. Lenny's insulin goes up this amount. Mine goes through the roof. Okay? So, Lenny eats the sandwich. Insulin goes up, comes down. Door shuts, opens back up again. Me, I look at the sandwich. Insulin goes through the roof. Door shuts, stays shut. So, those clients in my 50%, they were here, down this end of the spectrum, who were high insulin stimulators, but I was treating them like low insulin stimulators. Does that make sense? So what I needed to discover was like, okay, well, how do I help these guys? Because if I'm already doing something that works, don't change it. Make it better. So by mastering what I'm going to go through here in my next 25 minutes that I've got left, do you know what? You let me down big time. We were in the car yesterday, and his talk kept getting longer and longer. He was like, yeah, I'm going to be speaking for an hour and a half. Then we'd like get further down the road. I think it was quite funny. I didn't realize Giant's Causeway was as far away as you did you? And he goes, oh yeah, an hour and 40. We then got to like 3 hours. Now, I'm not here tomorrow because I'm at a wedding, so I can't see his talks. Like, you should still be here. The fact that I'm on time is a disgrace. So anyway, I've forgotten what I was saying here. So I had to figure out where my client fitted in this spectrum, and I'm going to show you how. Would that be useful for you? Yeah? If you can identify where your client is on this spectrum, and then the only 5 things that you need to nail from a nutritional point of view to optimize their ability to burn fat, would that be someone you want interested in, yeah? Cool. I've got a free training that you can go through because I knew that I wouldn't stick to time, and it goes deeper into using this, and you can all have access to that. And I have another little gift for you as well. Is that cool, yeah? Awesome. Right, so when it comes to optimal fat loss, there's 3 key things we need to know. Number 1, I need to ensure my client is burning fat. Remember, just because they're in a calorie deficit does not mean 100% of that energy is going to come from fat. Okay? If they are excessively stimulating insulin, carbohydrate isn't the only way to do that. They are not going to be burning fat. Everyone agree? Cool. Second one, these are my 3 pillars. Second pillar, I also need to make sure that my client can build and maintain lean muscle tissue. Like I said, that these results are not important and they're not particularly good if half of it's coming from the bicep. So I also need to make sure that I have strategies in place to ensure that I'm building and maintaining lean muscle tissue. Third one is the most important one, because the key thing we want is long-term, lasting, sustainable results for our clients. Would we agree? And the third one, which is what no one ever considers, I also need to make sure that I can satisfy and suppress their appetite. I had a coach come to me once and he said, I just thought that hunger was a side effect of a calorie deficit. I said, yes, we do it wrong. Our goal is not to provide our clients with low-calorie foods. It's to provide our clients with foods that satisfy their appetite so they create a deficit unintentionally. Okay, write that one down. Because if I can get a client in a deficit automatically because they're not hungry, that's kind of good, isn't it? Because they're not going to have cravings. Again, key thing with cravings, I come back to, if you've got a rock in your shoe causing you pain, you can do one of 2 things, take paracetamol or numb the pain. What I used to do before I learned this was go, just take your mind off it, drink more water, let's figure out a substitute. Whereas I was just getting them to take paracetamol. The key thing was actually just take the rock out. Best way to beat a craving, make sure the craving isn't there in the first place.